Hello everyone, I'm back. For those of you who give a crap and wonder where I've been, as some of you may know, as I mentioned before, I did move in the last couple of months, so I've had a lot going on there, you know, moving studio, moving snakes, setting up the new snake room and everything, but also I've got a wedding in just like 2 or 3 weeks, so that has been consuming pretty much the entirety of the last 6 months of my life. If you've ever had a wedding before, it's very time consuming, it's very expensive, and it's very stressful. So that's why I haven't been uploading a ton in the last few months, but I am still working behind the scenes, getting everything set up, making sure that I am good to go to do everything that I gotta do. Once that's all cleared out and I can just focus on solely my businesses and my snakes and everything like that. So kind of the point of this video is, you know, as you've probably seen as a theme in my previous videos, is that I'm all about transparency. So what I'm going to do here is show you my new setups and what I'm working with now, kind of my more permanent situation, so that if you are buying from me, you know where your snakes come from, you know how they're kept, you know what my philosophies and beliefs are and how I do things here. And if you jive with me and I jive with you, great, then, you know, we have a good transaction coming. You're a good customer for me, I'm a good breeder for you. I just want to mention real quick before I get into that, I've gotten, actually, for how little I've done so far in my first couple of years, I've gotten an overwhelming amount of support in what I'm trying to do here. And if you don't know what that is, I'm not only breeding for color retention and morph quality, I guess one would call that line breeding, but I am also breeding for behavior. That's actually my #1 focus, or in the top 3. Now, because of this, I've actually gotten quite a few comments and actually messages of just people reaching out to me randomly out of nowhere unprompted to tell me that they really like what I'm doing, they really like the idea, they're glad that somebody's finally doing it. Now, I was a little bit worried because I had heard before from people who had interviewed me or other breeders, people I talked to, that nobody's really going to care about ball pythons that are bred for behavior. I kind of had an inkling that that wasn't true. I think that there's a huge untapped market of people that are not breeders, or maybe people that have never had a ball python or a reptile before that would actually be super interested in that. But I was going to try anyway, but it's just really nice to see that the more that the word is getting out there, that people actually care about this and people want this, and there is a market that I can cater to. There is somebody that I can serve, and who also believe in what I believe in. So that's awesome that, you know, there can be so many different kinds of breeders doing different kinds of things, and there's somebody for everyone. There's a customer for everyone. So that's really awesome. So thank you to everybody who has given me support so far. You're going to see a lot more of me in the future, especially once this busy time in my life has passed. Alrighty, so on to the snake room itself. So y'all have already seen this enclosure. It's been modified a little bit, but this is Lucille's enclosure. She is the old girl that I have that's been featured in previous videos. She is, I think, up in the sky hide, which you can't even see because of the reflection. Yeah, you can't even see it. But she's got a sky hide up there, and she spends pretty much 24/7 there. So yeah, that's Lucy's enclosure. This enclosure is a permanent fixture. It will always be reserved for my largest and oldest snakes. So when Lucy passes, either her daughter or my next largest female will go in there. Lock that. This is Alice. This is the, oh God, the glare. This is the custom enclosure I made from a large tote I got at Walmart. So I just wanted to see if I could make something that was larger than the vision cages I had before, and it is. It's about 2/3 the size of the 4-foot enclosure. So it's pretty suitable for an adult ball python. And it gives me a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more height. I know you can't see in there super good, but Alice is in there right now. She's a climber. She loves to have a little bit of space. Ironically, she was in the same enclosure, and there's pictures of it, simplified with nothing in it except a hide and a water dish when she was going through her building and laying phase so that I could monitor her behavior more closely, and she was constantly glass surfing. So I was worried that this just wasn't going to be big enough for her, but once I put all of her stuff back in, you know, her noodle bar, her little stick there, this Java wood piece, and some leaves. She has not glass surfed since. She hasn't been pressing or pushing like she was before, so clearly it was just the boredom of the enclosure and not actually the size of it that was bothering her, because now that all of this crap is in here, whether or not she uses it, she's perfectly content. Now, something before I get into the racks that I want to mention about this room is notice how I have these 2 fairly large windows on the other side of the room where my art studio is, and they are pointing at my racks, which are all facing forward. These ones are facing to the side, but they still get quite a bit of light. But these racks are all facing forward and the tubs are clear. This is because I want my snakes to be able to have a day-night cycle, and I have yet to figure out how to set up some kind of suitable lighting inside a rack system like this. So I guess I'll just kind of keep working that problem. But in the meantime, they have these clear tubs. They get to look out. They can see what people are doing. They can look outside. They get sunshine. So there is a day-night cycle for people that care about that and people that are going to be putting these snakes into an enclosure where there's going to be lighting. This is kind of adapting them to that. So they're not going to be only accustomed to a dark hole where they see nothing but occasionally a peak of light when I reach in there to change water or feed them. I did decide to go with, for all of my racks, these are all animal plastics cages because from what I saw, the tubs that are used in them are not only the clearest I could find, but also have the widest base, so they have the most floor space, which gives me most to work with when I start putting things in there. You'll see more on that in a moment. So, in our hatchie rack, all hatchlings get the substrate, so they have some nice dirt to burrow through and push around, their water dish, little coconut hide, and if they are here long enough, I will add more things to the tub to make it a little bit more enriching. So, some more babies like that. These are the upgrader holdback tubs, so they're a little bit bigger than the hatchie tubs, which I don't have anybody in there right now because I did not get the snake that I wanted from this clutch, unfortunately, so I have nothing to hold back. They're all either identical to the parents or normal hets, so, you know. But otherwise, I would be using these holdback tubs, which are a little bit larger water dish, and they have what I call a noodle bar. So it's just something that goes across the top that they can climb on so they can start getting introduced to climbing and using their muscles. And then I can also put a little bit of extra, like a little extra log, some leaves and stuff, and hide in there. So these tubs give me a little bit more flexibility to start introducing them to, you know, diversity and enrichment early on. Then these are the intermediate or juvenile tubs. So these are the babies that are getting ready to be upgraded to the actual breeder rack. So all of these are outfitted with at least 2 different kinds of hides. So I have a half log hide right there. Sorry if it's kind of dark, you can't see it. And then one of those little plastic hides that everybody has. Those ones actually have the little terracotta tray you can put in the top so that you can make them a humid hide if necessary. But these tubs hold humidity so well, I haven't really had a problem with it. So anywho, but they also get like a log item and a stick and some leaves. As you notice, hi honeybee. I'm kind of a fall queen, so all of my racks and tubs have like birch logs and fall leaves and things like that because I'm just weird like that. And I know for a fact the snakes don't give a flying fornication. Although ironically, on a side note, when I first put these bright red leaves into Lucy's enclosure, which is the most recent fixture, she did sit here and stare directly at them for a full, I shit you not, 2 hours. She just stuck her nose up, like barely touched a leaf with her nose and stared at them for 2 hours. So maybe there's something about red, I don't know. Either they like it or I can't imagine she was stressed out or intimidated by it because otherwise she would have hissed or ran. So, you know, maybe they do like color, I don't know. But either way, this other stuff doesn't seem to bother them. So, more in the juvenile tubs. Again, a couple of log items. This one's actually kind of doubles as a hide because it's kind of hollow under there. Half hide, leaves. And Jagger. Leaves, 2 hides, log or stick item, and Charlie. He actually has a little bit of a coconut hide because that hide's pretty big for the hatchlings, and he's kind of one of the smallest I have in this rack. So again, sticks, logs, hide, leaves, all fall themed because I'm weird. Another side note to setting up tubs like this, you know, at least trying to work with what you got, providing light, providing enrichment, and a little bit of gentle interaction. For sure, my snakes are more relaxed the more shit they have in their tubs than when they were more barren. So take that as you will, but I feel like this definitely conditions them for a little bit more stimuli in their life, and they're not quite so sensitive to when I bother them or when things change. I want to make bulletproof babies and bulletproof breeders, and I feel like this is a major step in that. Funny thing too, this girl Honeybee, she sits at the front of her tub looking out for hours a day. At first I thought it was like a problem with temperature or something, like the back of the rack was just too hot, but I checked and it's actually absolutely perfect. Sometimes it's actually like a degree or 2 cooler. So I think that she actually just enjoys just stretching out at the front, just looking outside or taking in the light. I'm not really sure. She's a weird one. She's always sleeping in different places, but she's at the front of the tub a lot. And then once they reach about maybe a 1.5 to 2 years old, they start getting a little too big for these tubs, and then they move over to the actual adult rack. So again, some of the longest, widest racks I could find so I could give ample floor space. And height was also a thing too. So these have a reasonable amount of height. I measured several racks to try to get as much height as possible, but there's only so much you can do. In an actual breeding operation, you have to have a large number of snakes in a small space. And as you can see in this room, because of where all the doors are, and because I had to have my studio space, I could only fit racks in very specific spots. Like, I couldn't put things in the middle of the room. This large enclosure took up that entire wall. I needed this cabinet and drawers to be accessible. So, you know, I had to be very careful as to what I was working with and what size I got. But this is the largest tub size for a breeder rack that I could get. So anywho, that's just a shed that I'm holding off to be sent to be tested. When these babies grow up, this will be for males. So the reason that I have a more open one on the top and a closed off one on the bottom is that the males produce sperm better when they're cooler. So this will be for males, and they will have dual heating. There is heat tape on the bottom and there is back heat, so it'll be very easy to control the climate in the warm end. I did put some foam toward the back too. This was originally all open, but I just wanted to insulate it a little bit more to make sure that that back end can maintain warmth. If anybody's curious about my labeling system, I just have these stick-on kind of card slots that I put in here that fit something the size of a business card. Blue cards are for males, pink are for girls. Again, once more of these snakes graduate, this bottom rack will be females, top will be males. And then same thing as in the intermediate tubs, these tubs have several items in them to make them a more suitable permanent enclosure. So there is a hide, several log items, leaves, substrate, large ceramic water dish, and there's, oh hi, he's back there. There is a variety of items that I have, sticks and logs and leaves and things like that, so that I can swap them out and create a little bit of variety. Now, it's kind of silly of me to try to create climbing space in, you know, a shallow tub, but I've been able to get some kind of, you know, off-the-groundishness. And this is Orion's tub. So they all have a different variety of sticks, leaves, things like that. And different hides. So this is kind of what I'm trying to do for a more permanent setup. This is Lolita, a recent graduate who just became too big for the juvenile rack, so she has a little bit more stuff. She has a couple of different kinds of hides and more sticks and everything because she doesn't take up so much physical space herself yet. So this is what she has. Everybody's hiding right now. Nobody's in the mood to be bothered. And over here we have my crappy little incubator that has worked, but it does need to be upgraded. So I'll be using a different one this year when I'm actually incubating more than one clutch at a time. So the other thing about my limited space is that I can only have 10 adult breeders in this rack and then the 2 larger females in here. So that's what, 12 total adult breeders at a time. So I have to be very selective about what I'm breeding and who I'm breeding and when and how many clutches I'm producing. I have enough space to accommodate about 22 hatchlings. So, you know, 3 or 4 clutches a year is probably going to be my max. We'll have to see how it all goes. But it's okay. So my plan is whenever I have holdbacks and they move into the intermediate rack, I will be working on selling whatever parent or adult breeder that they're replacing. That's just how I'm going to have to do things. So I won't be able to keep too many breeders long term unless they are absolutely perfect for the projects that I'm trying to create. Now I know what you're thinking. Damn, Acacia, just 22 hatchlings, only a few clutches a year, 12 breeders? How the heck are you supposed to make a successful snake breeding business with only those numbers? Well, you see, as I've mentioned before, this is not my only business. This is just a side hustle. This is mostly a project, more for kind of the science than the money, but obviously, you know, side money is always great. I'm kind of all about the side hustles. So, you know, these snakes are going to more than pay for themselves because the pairings that I choose are of greater value than the parents themselves and for sure cover their cost of feeding and lighting every year. I've done the math. But going forward, I am going to be breeding for slightly higher value babies. There's still going to be a huge variety that are going to be kind of more in the pet price, you know, below $500, but there are also going to be several that are worth more than that. So it's not all just going to be pet stock. It is going to be a variety. There are going to be some higher end morphs, but the primary goal is excellent color retention and excellent behavior and adaptability qualities. Alrighty everybody, that's about it for this one. I was going to release a video sooner about my most recent clutch, but unfortunately when I was delivery driving, one of my customers knocked my phone out of my hand and most of the content that I had, the photos and video clips for that, were on that phone, and now the screen's completely shattered and I can't access them at all. So I'm going to have to pay $200 just to be able to get the photos and videos that I had off of that phone. So there's going to be a bit of a wait on this most recent clutch video, unfortunately. This is why this has taken so long. But I wanted to give you guys something. I have other things coming up to show off some new snakes, show this year's breeders and everything. But my primary focus in the next few weeks is the wedding. So thanks everybody. Hope you had a great autumn and that you continue to have a wonderful year and a wonderful holiday season. And I will talk to you again soon.